Right, we're here today to talk about our show, which takes place on the 20th of April at Wembley Arena, when we presented the show Royal Britannia. Top of the bill will be the WBO Light-Heavyweight Championship, Nathan Cleverley's mandatory defence against Robin Krasniqi, who's ranked #1 and comes from Serbia but is based in West Germany. Also on the card we've got the Commonwealth Super-Featherweight Championship fight between Liam Walsh and an opponent to be named. Dereck Chisora will be having his first fight since regaining his licence, which was granted by the board 2 days ago. He'll be in a meaningful fight, and hopefully we'll set him up for a big fight with David Price in the summer. Frankie Gavin, who's not on the sheet that you've got, he'll also be fighting on the card. And we've got a good undercard feature in some of our best of our young talent: Frank Bullioni, John Thane, Steve O'Meara, Mitchell Smith, Joey Saylor, Miles Shinquin and Steve O'Meara. So they're all on the card, and we're moving on with the show. As you know, the show was postponed because of an injury at the time to Vasquez, who was going to be fighting Ricky Burns on the show. As you know now, that fight's not taking place because Ricky Burns has decided to go elsewhere. I've issued proceedings against Ricky Burns for breach of contract. Some of you may have seen the claim form, which shows that there was a management contract between him, myself, and there was also a promotional agreement. So that'll take its course. In the meantime, we move forward as we always do, presenting and delivering good fights. This is a very important fight for Nathan Cleverley. Nathan can't afford to slip up, because if he does, any potential fight he has with Bernard Hopkins will go out the window. I had talks last year with Richard Schaefer from Golden Boy. We had agreed terms for Hopkins to fight Nathan, and that fight was going to take place in New York, but unfortunately the WBO ordered the mandatory, or they would have stripped Nathan for the title. Hopkins wanted to fight for a title at that stage, and obviously wasn't a champion. But now we have made the fight. Me, Dereck, how are you?
Sorry, I'm late.
We've now made the fight, and made this fight, and if Nathan comes through it, I'm very, very confident that in the summer he will be facing Hopkins in the opposite corners. Big fight for Nathan, big fight for everybody involved, and it'll be a big fight for Box Nation, who, as you know, screen most of Golden Boy's fights on a regular basis. For Dereck, you know, Dereck's had some good fights over the last year or so, or the last 18 months. All meaningful fights, all of them. Got robbed in Finland against Helenius. Put a great fight up against Klitschko, and then obviously last year, which was probably the biggest fight in the UK last year, was involved in one of the most exciting heavyweight fights I've seen in recent years in the UK. He's now got to come back, show what he's made of. He's not even had 20 pro fights yet, unbelievably. But I believe in him. I've always believed in him. That's why I've stood by him. And I honestly do think that if he gets himself going, and learns from his previous fights, I really do think he can be up there and certainly challenge for a world title, if not get himself into a situation where he can win one. And as we know, the Klitschkos are not getting any younger. I don't think they're going to be around for too much longer, so it's going to be really open for that division is going to be so open for all the heavyweights, and Dereck is going to be up there amongst them. Liam, I think, also fought on that bill in last July at West Ham, and I thought he looked superb. He's got great talent. He's only had 13 fights. I think he's a super talent, and I really do think that he's going to be going places, and I'm obviously going to make sure that I give him the opportunities to deliver, and hopefully he'll be challenged for a world title in the next 18 months or so. Anyway, all the guys are here. If you need to ask any questions, please feel free to do so, because my pulse is still beating, believe it or not, before it runs out. Let's go.
Nathan, I know you guys don't like talking beyond the fight that's coming up, but did you see Hopkins at the weekend? And if you did, what did you think?
I didn't stay up to watch the fight, but the next day I watched 6 rounds of the fight, and I seen enough of it. Really, it seemed to be the same pattern all the way through. won the fight easy, looked good as well. So, but it's a fight that I'd love. You know, I think because he's IBF world champion now, I think it's a blessing in disguise that the fight didn't happen last year, when it would have been one world title on the line. I think it's going to be better now with my world title and Hopkins, so we can be unified world champion.
Frank, where might that fight be if it comes off?
To be quite honest, you know, I've always preferred a home advantage if we can get it. But I've got no problem with Nathan fighting him in the States. I really haven't. We made the fight to be in the States last year because I do think that Nathan will beat him. I think he's got the style to beat him. I think he's got all the tools to beat him. It's obviously not an easy job, and we are unfortunately looking past Krasniqi, who's no slouch himself. It's a tough fight for Nathan. But if he comes through that, wherever it has to be, it'll be. In an ideal world, I'd like it to be at the Millennium Stadium because it'll make a lot of sense, and I think we could, you know, the way that we like to do, we do doing the big shows, I think we could probably get 30,000, 40,000 people there.
Nathan, Frank said Krasniqi is no slouch. I mean, obviously you've seen tapes of Krasniqi. Is there anything about him that you might cause people a problem, do you think?
He's a good fighter, actually. He's won his last 38 fights, so he's coming into the fight with a lot of confidence. And the thing is with these guys, you know, he'll do anything to win that world title. So he's going to give it 110%. And they're dangerous fights, risky fights. You know, in an ideal world, you just go for the big fights, but you've got to deal with these mandatory challenges. I've got to abide by the rules. I've been ordered by the WBO to fight this guy, or I'm stripped. So we've got to do it. And he fancies his chances. You know, he's unbelievably confident for this fight, but I just got to perform like a world champion and get this guy done, because he's in my way now of the big fights, of the elite fights.
Dereck, you've been out a long time now. How's the training been going? Have you been training while you've been out all this time?
Yeah, I've been training. It's been alright. Just came back. Went back to basics basically. So we've been training hard, and I took a week off, so I started training again yesterday.
Yeah, Walsh, can you tell us a little bit how your preparation's been and how everything's going with you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Everything's been going brilliant. It's as good as it can be, and yeah, I'm ready to fight. I can't wait to fight, in fact. Like I say, all the preparation's gone well. You'll never hear excuses out of me. I'm good to go.
Dereck, is it a relief to have all this business behind you now and have your license back?
Yeah, it is a relief, a big relief. Like, it was mental, but now I'm a happy man.
And we had a good meeting at the board. It was all very friendly and amicable, and I think there's Derek's been out, well, he's had no problems for, was it now, well over a year. It's been no problems.
It's tea and biscuits at the board, I'll tell you that.
And you know, he's done really well. He's done well in the last year, and as I say, less than 20 fights. And you think he's had a world title fight, European, British, Commonwealth, been in with and fought David Hay, former world champion. That's not bad going. You can't go step back too far considering the level he's been fighting at. And he's been fighting quite high. He's been fighting probably tougher, I think, tougher opponents when you look at it than the Klitschko's have. And I don't think Dereck ever disappoints in the ring. You know, every fight he's in the ring, you know, when you see him in the ring, he gives his all. And you can't ask for no more than that from any boxer.
Were you surprised about David Hay's result? David Price's result. And do you still have aspirations to win British title?
When I was turning pro, Chris Eubank said you stay away from southpaws, and I think David Price took the wrong fight there. It's a heavyweight game, you know. It's like you get hit, you go on the floor. It depends how you come back up. And I think David Price will come back as a better man, as a stronger fighter, and
you're going to fight him
for the right money, yeah.
Exactly.
Frank, where would that be? Liverpool, London?
Don't know really.
Liverpool.
No, I don't think the Liverpool Arena is big enough for it. It's a big fight. It's a big fight, you know, for both of them. You know, David Price got knocked over, sensationally beat. You know, and it's a bit of redemption for both of them. Whoever goes into that fight, if that fight can be made, whoever goes into, they both going into it. Sorry, whoever comes out of it as the winner is going to move very quickly, I think, towards fighting for a world title. And the loser, depending how he loses, I think it's going to set him. It will set him back. So it's a fight where they've got all to go for. It is an exciting fight.
Is that fight easier to make, Frank, because Price lost?
No, I mean, you know, we could have. I'm sure we could have made it anyway down the road, but I think it makes it a more intriguing fight. I mean, before that, David Price was going to rule the world, and he was the best thing since sliced bread. Now, I think everybody's got an opinion about this. You know, who could win that fight? Me, I think Dereck Chisora wins the fight. I really do. I think it'd be too much of a handful for him. A lot's been said. I just want to say one thing. You know, since I left Sky, which was in 2011, we did our first show in September, and we left Sky, and the reason I left is because I remember getting letters. I've got a couple of emails which I was looking over them in the last week or so, you know, from the hierarchy there, saying that, you know, Ricky Burns doesn't do any business, he doesn't do good numbers, and maybe that was the case at the time. But what we did was to put our money up, our own money, not TV companies' money, our money. We launched a channel, we put our money in. We'd done it on the strength of our belief and our abilities. And here we are now in 2013, nearly 18 months on from launching the channel. And the channel's in great shape, and it's enabled a lot of boxers to make a lot of money. And that can only be good for boxing. And it's enabled some of the best fights to be made in this country, that fighters haven't had to go abroad. Because the channel gets behind them, the channel puts the money up, or I put the money up in most of the instances, to ensure my boxers get the best positive, or get the best opportunities to have a home advantage if I feel they need it. A couple of times Derek's gone on the road, and we see what happened when he fought Elenius. If that fight had been in the UK, he would have got the decision. Out there, he got blatantly robbed. And we've seen other fighters in the last year or so go abroad, and all of them get beaten. You know, that's the difference Box Nation has made to boxing. It's enabled fighters to most of the time have home advantage, and it's enabled them to improve their profile, because otherwise they wouldn't be earning the money they were earning. Nowhere near it, nowhere near it. And as I say, now we move into the next phase. We move into the next phase of Box Nation, and that's been my focus over the last year or so, is ensuring that the channel survives, that we deliver the best fights to them, and that I can deliver for my fighters who I work with, and also show them back the loyalty they've shown to me. You know, these two guys here, for example, and Liam, have been very understanding at times as to where we've been with a channel and what we had to do, and they show tremendous patience, and they show great loyalty, and they'll get that loyalty back 100 times from me. You know, I never deserted Dereck at any time when people say I'm walk away from him. And as for Nathan, you know, I will make sure every opportunity that I can give to him, to give him any advantage in this business, he will get, and more, because he's been more than a friend as far as I'm concerned. And it's not a friend like you talk that you met them last week and you say these are my friends in boxing and all boxers are my friends. That's not how it works. We know that's bullshit. But some people in boxing are your friends, and some people you do feel that you'll always give them back that loyalty. And these guys sitting at this table here have been extremely loyal, and they'll get it back from me 1,000,000 times over as they move forward in their careers. And as I say, we're here to stay. We're not going away. You know, over the last 30 years, I think I've been written off more times than I care to remember. I've seen them all come and go over the years, all of them, and I'm still here. I'm still punching above my weight, and I will continue to do so with the support of the staff that I've got, my friends that I've got. Man over there at the back, Mike Gooder, who's been fabulous with us, and I say all these things mentioning names because they've been very understanding in seeing what we're trying to do and where we're coming from. And as I say, you will see tomorrow Box Nation's turning a big corner. And that can only be good for boxing because it creates competition. It means that there are 2 TV companies at the moment putting their fighting over the services of boxes, which means that the boxers' purses hopefully will go up. So that's where we are. That's what we deliver to the equation. For anyone to think that want Box Nation to fail, they've got to be thick and stupid, because if that was the case and you had only one game in town, that means money's just going to drop and drop and drop, which was happening in 2011 before we left Sky. So that's where I'm coming from. More shows, big shows. We've got 3 shows over the next 3 weeks. We'll be announcing dates up in Scotland in the next 2 weeks, and a few other world title fights, and there'll certainly be some big announcements from Box Nation in the next 4 or 5 days regarding big fights that will be broadcast on the channel. So don't write us off yet, because I've seen it happen so many times. You just make yourself look stupid because we're not going anywhere.